Hello everyone, meteorologist First and Weather here. It is May 14th, 2024, and this is the final video in the forecasting series for the Denver region. I'll try to make this video a bit more in-depth and go into a bit more detail here as we look at the forecast for the next couple of days and also potentially for the next week or so. So starting off here, can never really go wrong with the GO16 satellite imagery loop here. This is for the past 10 hours or so, and you can see that we have some very beautiful sort of convection taking place, and you can almost actually see the cold front propagating southward as you go with time. You can see the boundary is pretty much locked right around here. You have a big boundary here, and you have convection forming ahead of that. Even some storms forming in the California region here, in the valley region, forming off the mountaintops there. So very, very interesting. And as a person that's grown up in the East Coast, I have very little experience forecasting for the West Coast. And one thing that's really become apparent here is that terrain. It just has a huge impact on forecasting here, and just small changes in wind direction can really mess up your forecast. If you predict northerly winds and the winds have a bit more of an easterly component, and your mountains are to your west, bam, you have convection that was not being expected. So can really have a huge impact. And you can see here that we have a prevailing westerly flow at the upper levels, while we have a northerly flow in the western region at the surface. And you can see that by the lower clouds moving south and the higher clouds moving to your west, at least in Utah and eastern Nevada. And so notice here that as you got to the evening hours, the late afternoon, as that daytime heating really peaked, you had the level of free convection being broken, and you have storms initiating first on the mountaintops and high terrain features as a function of unsymmetrical heating on the mountain ridges and tops, and then you have those storms and propagating in the prevailing wind flow. For example, in Denver, you had storms propagating and forming on the mountaintops, and then slowly moving west and covering the entire state in a big blanket of cloud cover. And the current satellite loop at the Aviation Weather Center shows this nicely here. Clusters of storms moving from west to east here. This will continue now for the next at least 2 or 3 hours before they die down as daytime heating is lost, as the sun will be setting quite shortly. Now, if we take a look at the NAM model, just take a look at today, the 19Z area average sounding for the Denver region, and you can see why things and storms have really kind of fired up here. You have some thin, skinny cape, nothing too impressive, but it's not nothing to scoff at either. You have about 1,000 cape. Mean layer cape is around 400, and most unstable cape is around 1,100. So pretty substantial stuff there. One thing that immediately does stick out though is the very low dew points. Pretty significant dew point depression. That allows for some gusty winds to form as well, and also means a lot of these storms have really, really high bases. But what I want you to notice also is the unbelievably steep lapse rates. This is the temperature profile is essentially following the dry adiabatic lapse rate in the first 300 millibars here, from 900 to 600. And so that means convection is just going to kind of spur on its own, really. You have just any slight movement, and these parcels are going to shoot right upward into the atmosphere. And then as they condense at around 700 millibars, you're going to have really high base storms. And so a lot of the precip you see on radar might not actually be reaching the ground, but in those heavier regions of reflectivity, you definitely will be seeing, and there have been many reports of precipitation over the past few hours or so. Now, one thing I want to quickly kind of steer off into real quick before we get started is why is it so? Why are the low level lapse rates so steep? Why does the temperature decrease so quickly with height over the day on Tuesday? And if we look at the upper air, so this is the cyclonic vorticity and upper level heights at 500. So we actually need to go a little bit lower to see what's going on. So maybe if we try 850 temperature advection, nope, nothing really going there. It's too low actually. Yep, once again too low. About 700. So you can see here that we have westerly flow, which is interesting because usually westerly flow over the mountains would mean maybe some downsloping, but then again we have very, very steep lapse rates over the region here as well. Let's see if we can get a better view. And still, it's the same signature kind of showing up here. And so that appears to me that it's not an upper level phenomenon that's causing this, but rather strong surface heating at the surface is what's responsible for this significant warm up here. Uh, and so you're having temperatures of the surface warming up very quickly. That leads to a lot of mixing as well. But essentially, you have where you have a full day of sunshine in the morning, temperatures of the surface can heat up quite quickly. You see, if I go to the surface winds here, you'll notice that we don't really have any warm air advection, so to speak. Winds are from the west. There's nothing really too impressive in that regard. Um, but yeah, temperatures do warm up very quickly during the day, from the low 50s all the way up to the 70s as you have daytime heating, and then those lapse rates then naturally get pretty steep uh, as the day progresses, and that then allows those storms to really fire off. Now, looking at the surface map, this is what's really kind of going on over right now as of 21Z Tuesday. We can see we have a cold front to our northwest. I showed this briefly here on the satellite loop where you had that boundary extending a little bit further west. This cold front then will make its way through the area on Wednesday, so winds will shift from the south or the west to northerly and northeasterly, and that will again once again spark off some storms. So while Wednesday might be a bit cooler, high temperatures might be in the mid 60s. The northeasterly wind component will also then allow for upslope convection and storms to start firing up in the Front Range and also the Denver metro region. So if we take a look here at the NAM forecasted radar and 10-meter wind, this kind of shows that phenomena quite nicely here as we go into the day on Wednesday. That cold front moves through as the winds shift from westerly to northerly. And then as those winds start to shift more to the northeast, we have daytime heating a little bit. We definitely do see those storms firing up. And I also can look at the upper air vorticity and cyclonic vorticity. You can see that as that initial shortwave trough moves to the east, the other forcing then starts here where you have this other trough kind of moving closer. That causes some more lift in the atmosphere. And so you just have kind of a favorable environment to see some storms pop up. You also notice this feature right here of enhanced cyclonic vorticity, advection moving into the Colorado region. And so I think the NAM here is doing a pretty good job of showing this. As we get into late afternoon and evening Wednesday, there will be scattered showers and storms firing up. And the HRRR shows a similar story. If we go to the 0Z run here, it also shows storms firing up during the day on Wednesday. As we get to those late afternoon, evening hours. And then the storms then gradually move, or kind of really just have a west to east motion here. Some of them drift and meander a little bit. So kind of just a chaotic, scattered shower regime for your day on Wednesday. Thursday looks to be a bit drier. So you have that rain feature to the southeast because of that shortwave trough in the New Mexico region. But that should stay far enough south to kind of avoid the Denver region. Now, taking a look at the broad scale region here, so again, the shortwave responsible for the rain and precip for tomorrow, that exits the region. And then after that, we have Thursday, a bit quieter conditions. And then for Friday, again, pretty quiet as well. So northerly flow at the upper levels. At the lower levels, we have, again, just calm winds. Nothing really too impressive. The nearest low pressure system is all the way up in Canada, so nothing to really write home about for the Thursday and Friday forecast. Now, one thing I want to go back and look at is cloud cover here. So if we look at Wednesday cloud cover, again, that cold front comes through early morning, and then the convection fires up, and you get cloudy, and you get a broken kind of sky. So I think, again, Wednesday, start off sunny, trend cloudier as the day progresses. Kind of just the normal theme for the spring and summer months here, as summertime convection can really make the days cloudier the later you go into them. Looking at temperatures, so Thursday or Wednesday will be a bit cooler, like I said. Morning lows starting off in the upper 40s. Highs then warm up into the upper 60s, unlike today, which reached the mid 70s. And then as we go overnight into Thursday, lows will be in the mid 40s, and then highs on Thursday will be a bit higher into the low 70s. So we take a look at the Schref plume here showing ensemble temperature maps for the Denver International Airport. You can see that for the 15th, forecast highs are going to be in the mid 60s, low to mid 60s. Overnight lows again mid 40s, and then highs on Thursday a bit higher in the upper 60s to low 70s as well. And looking at forecasted precip ensemble, you can see the majority of the rain falls on Wednesday and Wednesday night. The average is about a quarter of an inch to just a bit under that. And taking a broad look now at the national picture as we go a bit further, you'll see that things then do stay pretty quiet. If we go to Friday, Saturday, things are quiet. Nothing really too extreme here. Some areas of precip. The GFS does show our next big rain chance being on Monday and Sunday and Tuesday. That will be something to watch. And then after that, yeah, just periodic low pressure systems swinging through, and that's really interesting. Looking at the pattern here, so we go to the upper air height anomaly. We can see that we have these troughs just swinging through a bit too far north to really bring any significant precip to Colorado, but that should allow for warm-ups and then cool down. So a very volatile pattern. You get warm for a couple days, get a bit cooler for a couple days, just general daytime convection as you have competing air masses working with each other. You have daytime heating causing storms to fire up, etc. And that's kind of really the main theme here over the next couple of days and into the next week as well. You can just see, for example, Tuesday, another trough swings through. This one's a bit further south, so maybe some more rain for the Denver region. And then after that, another one comes through, another one comes through. And that will just lead to a very volatile pattern with, alternating warm up and cool downs. And looking at the MJO here, the MJO is forecast to stay in phases 3 and 4 for the next 2 weeks. And that kind of shows the volatility of the pattern here. Phase 3 is cool, while phase 3 is very warm over the U.S. in Denver for the April, May, June timeframe. So it just kind of goes to show the volatility here that should be expected in the forecast for the next few days. So just to summarize, for Wednesday, another chance of showers and storms in the late afternoon and evening. Temperatures will be a bit cooler in the mid 60s. Clouds will be increasing as the day progresses. Thursday and Friday should be a bit nicer. Should stay dry. And if we can we can also look at cloud cover for Thursday and Friday. If we go to Thursday, let's go to the afternoon. Oop. We can see here that there might be some mid-level clouds, still temperatures falling, a pretty steep lapse rate. But the NAM forecast sounding does show clouds reaching the saturation level or the level of condensation happening around 700 millibars. But other than that, I think the sounding is pretty unsaturated. So this suggests to low-level cumulus and altocumulus clouds during Thursday. And if we look at the total cloud fraction, you can see kind of a similar story. Some cumulus clouds in the area on Thursday, and then Friday should be even a bit less cloudy as well. So that's it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you enjoyed this forecasting series with me. And it's been a pleasure, and I hope you learned something new. Thank you. Have a nice night.